Welcome back, everybody, to episode 105 of V-Time. We got actually a really decent episode for you today.
A lot of information.
More Sword Boys, like I know everybody likes to see. Some boosters at 2 leaks, finally, so getting some preview of what that's going to be. A little bit of Monster Strike here and there, and then a decent chunk of news.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty packed.
Yep. But before that, if you're interested in buying any cards from TCG Player, please use our affiliate link down below.
Your purchases through this link help support the channel, so we bring more great content like this straight to you guys.
And with that scripted part of the way, let's go straight into leaks. It's going to be mostly Sword Boys again. Like, if anybody's here, there's low retention, yay. I'm going to be covering all of them.
Yep.
Because someone struggles.
Yeah. So, spoiler, 75% of these leaks is probably like Sword Boys. But hey, it's not all Sword Boys. We do have some other stuff. So.
Exactly, so stick around. Anyway, starting us off, we got Izumi no Kami Kanasada. It's a grade 2 auto rigor. When this unit attacks while boosted, Cannabis 1, until the end of battle, this unit gets 5k. And if it was boosted by Horikawa Kunihiro, when your opponent will call cards from their hand, they must call 2 or more at the same time. So it's a simple, Baldorus effect with CB1 and 5k, so it's a 15k. Granted, if it's boosted, it's Baldorus, which means if the booster has anything to say about it, it's more. So let's look at Horikawa Kunihiro. Auto Rearguard. When this unit is boosted, when this unit boosts a token Denshi Uchigatana, I'm going to assume that's kind of a archetype or something, so it doesn't have to be specifically the grade 2. Cost Soul Blast 1 and discard a card from your hand to draw a card. And if it boosts Izumi no Kami Kanasada, which is the grade 2 we covered, this unit gets 5k until the end of turn. So, this nice column combo is a Cannabis 1, Ditch 1, Soul Blast 1 to draw a card, have a 28k column that has to be guarded with 2 or more cards from hand.
Nifty.
I have one problem with it. Granted, if your Persona Ride is 38, which is a nice number and all that, but if you're hitting 28 on the normal, that's already 2 cards from hand. That's a trigger and a 5k.
Fair.
So why the Baldorus effect?
They just want to throw it on there somewhere, man.
See, if it was... If it hit that weird almost 15k but not really mark, it is 2 5k, so that's 2 cards from hand. But if they don't have 5ks to ditch, or they don't want to ditch, 2 cards, 5ks from hand, because usually the 5ks are very important cards, they're forced to ditch a trigger and something else. So hitting 28 is kind of going against what it wants to do.
28 is technically a trigger, isn't it?
Yes, it's exactly a trigger.
So,
which means for 28, just 28, you need to throw down a trigger and something else already. So why have to force your opponent to throw 2 cards down anyway?
Yeah, you're right. Could have just gave it plus, and made the grade 1 get plus 10. Then it would have been useful.
I mean, then it's 33, and then it's still like if it hit the 25k mark or the 23, that's 2 great. That's a 10k shield. Or sorry, that's exactly a 15k shield, because a 10k shield is not going to suffice.
Yes.
And then you're forcing your opponent to overguard something.
Yes.
I don't know. It's weird.
It is what it is.
Like, if someone's PGing it, that's a different story, but I don't see someone PGing this. Anyway, we're going to move on. We got another grade 2. We got Okanehira. Okanehira. There we go. Auto Rearguard. When this unit attacks while not boosted, cost discard 2 cards from your hand. Choose one of your units with power greater than this unit's, and until the end of battle, increase or decrease this unit's power until it is 5,000 greater than the unit's power.
Well, that would be hilarious if you hit an overtrigger.
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, I hit an overtrigger? Let's put 100 million here. This thing swings discard 2, 100 million, and 5.
Yep. Sounds fun.
I mean, it's like, honestly, I can see this in the trial deck version.
Yes, because you're not going to have any CB to do anything, so discarding 2 cards is a cost you can actually use. And
then if you, depending on how the game goes, if you for some reason had the CB3 to give something 30k, get another big column.
Yeah.
Like, it's honestly a decent card. Moving on, though, we have Ugu Isumaru. Yeah, there we go. It's a great two.
I was like, don't ask me about this.
Like the names are hard. Don't get me wrong. But at least apparently I'm having a better time than you did.
Oh, you're not wrong. I would have butchered it.
Auto, when this unit is placed on rear guard, counterblast 1. Look at 7 cards on top of your deck. Choose up to 1 Okana Hira, which is the grade 2 we covered. From among them, reveal it and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck. If you did not reveal a card, countercharge 1. So it's a free look at top 7, get a card.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you don't manage, at least you didn't waste any resources.
Yeah, and again, this is a really good in the trial deck because you want to sink counterblast into something. This will sink your counterblast into a card you can use that doesn't use counterblast, and if you don't get it, well, you get a countercharge so you can do something else with a counterblast.
Exactly. Moving on. We get to the ride line.
Yep.
And it's a new ride line of a honestly favorite boy. Like I remember whenever he first came out, I think in G era, he was a very hyped up. So this ride line will be around Mutsuno Kami Yoshiyuki. And we're going to start off with his starter, which is of course a normal starter ability. When wrote upon, draw a card if you win second. Simple, straightforward, we know what they do.
Yep.
Anyway, let's look at the ride line itself though. So we're starting off with Mutsuno Kami Yoshiyuki Sento. Like every one of the other ride lines. Auto, when this unit is rode upon by Mutsukami Yoshiyuki Toku, choose up to 1 of your opponent's back row rear guards and retire it. If it is not retired, soul charge 1. Its other ability is continuous rear guard during your turn. This unit gets 2k, making a 10k thingy.
I still like this. I mean, 2k is still bad, but at least this one...
2k on a grade 1 is good. 2k on a grade 2 is shit.
Also, I like this not when it attacks.
Yes.
Because at least it can still be a 10k booster.
Yes. We've covered this the last time.
Yes.
I think all the ride lines are going to have the exact same effect.
Yes.
In the sense of the 2k. Speaking of, Mutsuno Kami Yoshiyuki Toku, the grade 2. Auto, when this unit is rode upon by Mutsuno Kami Yoshiyuki Kiwame, cost Soul Blast 1, choose up to 1 of your opponent's back row rear guards and retire it. If it is not retired, draw a card. And of course, the other ability that we kind of predicted, continuous rear guard during your turn. This unit gets 2k, which makes it a 12k attacker, which means it's shit.
Then you got a good ride line skill.
The ride line skill is good. Like we've noticing that the fact that this ride line focuses on retiring your opponent's back row, which in most cases your opponent doesn't have a back row with the way some decks play.
Yeah, some decks just really want to just throw out in the early game just the front row to swing in and reserve cards in hand to guard so they don't have to take a lot of damage early in.
Exactly, which means you're more than likely plussing if the grade 1 didn't already kill something in the back row.
Exactly.
So let's continue this trend with the grade 3 Mutsuno Kami Yoshiyuki Kiwame. Of course, it has the Persona Ride icon, and then it has continuous Vanguard if your opponent does not have any rear guards in their back row. This unit gets 2k. This also includes during your opponent's turn, which means it can be a 15k wall on your opponent's turn. Auto Vanguard, when this unit attacks, counterblast 1, choose up to 1 of your opponent's back row rear guards and retire it. Then this unit gets 5k until the end of that battle for each of your opponent's open back row rear guards. Meaning, if everything goes according to plan, this guy is swinging for 30k on his own.
Yep. I like the way this card is designed. For the simple fact that the power during your opponent's turn forces your opponent to say, well, I need to use something from my hand to throw it down there, so it's at least easier to hit.
I mean, my honest opinion, the 2k extra means almost nothing. The only deck that actually could loses out on this, it might be Magnolia, because you have some pokes here and there, but at the same time, most of your stuff goes over 15 or hits exactly 15.
Yes, but it does make guarding for the player that's playing this deck a lot easier.
Maybe.
Because you're right at the 15 even number.
Yeah, which means anything that's a 23 is now only a 10k guard instead of a 15.
Yeah.
Anything that's 28 is now a 15k guard instead of a 20. Like it just jumps up some of the, like there's a lot of golden ratio numbers here in the game. So this just jumps it up a little bit to make it easier to guard. I will agree with that.
Yeah. So like in that respect, when you're the opponent playing against this is like kind of forced to say, well, do I just want to throw it out, waste a card out of my hand back here just so I can make it to where it's not as easy to guard?
Pretty much.
So it's making your opponent technically discard a card in a sense.
technically, I mean, also retiring is always good, so you're hitting your opponent's resources.
Exactly.
I mean, it's overall decent. I'm still of the opinion after testing it that the trial deck one is the best, just because the inherent plus you get almost every single turn.
Mm-hmm.
Every other ride line is very reliant on what their rear guards. Oh, the promos finally make sense a little bit. The promo grade 1 that says whenever something's retired, then the back row gives something 10k.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be useful in this deck. And then the grade 3 that says, hey, pop something in the back row can also be useful in this deck now.
Exactly.
So, some interesting combos here and there. Anyway, since it's not Tokenrabu, your turn.
Yay! So we finally get some cards that we may or may not get. By that, I mean Monster Strike. And oh boy, Monster Strike looks really good already. I'm not gonna lie.
I know, right?
So let's start off with one of the starter decks, I think.
Okay, so the first one you're covering is from the starter deck.
The other one is from the other one.
Correct. So
Yes.
these are both starter deck main grade 3s. We don't know their full ride lines, we just know the main boss unit.
Exactly. So the first one is Holy Sword of True Bonds Excalibur. Continuous Vanguard. During the battle that this unit attacked, this unit gets power plus 10,000, making it 23, which is good. Auto Vanguard. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you Persona Road this turn, cost Counterblast 1, discard a card from your hand, and stand one of your rear guards.
I mean, it's a simple, straightforward, very good effect.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically Bastion, but you're going to get it more than likely.
You're guaranteed to get it if you Persona Road.
Yes.
There is one thing to know here. Persona riding is hard. In Monster Strike, honestly, it might be the easiest thing to do ever.
Yeah, because thanks to Monster Box, you can toolbox one if it's in there.
Yeah. If a Persona ride target hits the Monster Box, you toolbox it out. If you have a Persona ride target in your hand early game, you put it in the Monster Box and grab something you need in that moment, and then let's save it for later.
It's so the way they design Monster Strike is so nice.
We need to still see more cards to even test it out and get a better feel for it. But where it's heading, it looks very promising. Now it just needs to come in English.
I'll tell you one that's actually way better is this one. Demon of Causality, Lapis. I think it's hope I said that right, Lapis.
Look, man, I see Laplace.
Laplace. Laplace. Let's go with that. Auto Vanguard. When this unit is boosted, if the attacks a Vanguard, cost Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. Choose up to 3 of your opponent's rear guards and retire them.
Jesus.
Whew. Act Vanguard. If you Persona Road this turn, cost discard a card from your hand. Choose one of your opponent's Vanguards and increase it or decrease its power to 0 until the end of turn.
So that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit interested in the fact of increase the power to 0.
If they somehow win the negatives.
I think they're just future proofing it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Or maybe even past proofing it. I have no idea. It's just one of those little nuances like, ooh, Easter egg.
Mm-hmm. But the fact like we talked about earlier is like the toolbox, like, cool, you know, it's locked behind a Persona ride, but your Persona ride's in a toolbox deck that can fetch out their Persona ride easily if it appears somewhere.
And also you got to think like the other card. If you Persona ride, it's a 33k attacker that restance something.
Yes.
This thing, if you Persona ride, you're swinging approximately, if you do all the effects,
Yes.
31 at a 0. Because it has to be boosted for the first effect.
Yes.
Which means you're boosting probably with an 8k.
Yes.
Unless they introduce some sort of weird boosters. Mm-hmm. And then they're at 0 and you Persona road.
Yep.
So there's some magic numbers going around here.
And the fact that the Retire 3 is not locked behind a Persona is Jesus Christ, man. This Counterblast
Retire 3 is just shit. Fuck.
Like, man, you're really hurting your opponent.
Man, Blade Master wish to have something like that.
Eugene wishes he could retire things that easily.
Yeah, Eugene. Legitimately, this should have been the Eugene effect.
Yes.
This should have been the Eugene effect. Ugh.
Really good, especially for a start deck.
All right. So that's been Monster Strike. And that's literally it. So that we got 2 cards and an egg and the mechanic. So we can't make a deck just yet, and we don't want to make a vanilla deck where you just grab your vanillas. So we're going to still wait on Monster Strike and do it as soon as we can on the channel. But for the most part, we're still waiting. So back to Sword Boys.
Yep.
As we lose a lot of people. We got Tsurumaru Kuninaga. Auto Rearguard. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, cost Counter +1, Soul +1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards in the same column as this unit and exchange positions with this unit. Multi-attack. Simple, straightforward.
Yay, now Tokenrumbu has access to 7 attacks.
Yes. So, to kind of explain that if anybody doesn't know, combine this with the 001 triple rare grade 2 that restands itself if you have 5 damage. And if you have 4 open CB and 2 cards in Soul, you can execute 7 attacks in a deck. What happens is basically you have 2 of this in the front row. Persona Riding is kind of nice to kind of hit 20, so you're not just swinging 10s at something.
Exactly.
You swing with this, Counter +1, Soul +1, exchange positions with the other grade 2. You swing with the other column, Counter +1, Soul +1, exchange position with the grade 2. And you swing with the grade 2, you look at the top card, give it 5k, and then Counter +1, Soul +1 to restand it. So you need 4 Soul, not 2.
Oh, did you use a Soul too? Oh, yeah, you need 4 Soul.
4 Soul, 4 CB. But regardless, you restand that. And then you swing with the other one, look at the top card, Counter +1, Soul +1, restand it. Then you swing with Vanguard, but whatever trigger effects you get. And then you swing with the other 2 rearguards again. So ultimately, in Tokenrumbu, it's possible to get 7 attacks. It's a very convoluted combo. You need to be at 5 damage, and you need 4 open CB and 4 cards in Soul.
But hey,
it exists.
If you get there, you get there.
Exactly. Moving on, though, we got another grade 2. There's a lot of grade 2s in Tokenrumbu.
Mm-hmm.
Shoku da Ikiri Mitsutada. Auto. When this unit is placed on rearguard from hand, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, cost Ken +1 and all of your front row units get 5k until the end of turn. Auto rearguard. When this unit attack hits a Vanguard, Soul +1, choose one of your opponent's front row rearguards and retire it. So in all honesty, if you have 5 open CB and 5 damage, you can place this behind the Vanguard to give those replace units 5k so they can at least hit.
Yep.
Again, big ass combo, but it's possible. Overall, on its own, this card is not bad. CB1 to kind of power up your units, and then on hit effect, that's honestly decent.
Yeah, and you have a restanding grade 2 rear guard if you're running that one, so the +5 will stay on it.
I'm a little bit sad though, because the other one was 010 triple rare, and this is 05 triple rare. So we're getting slowly away from all the triple rares, so we're seeing all the main units already. And not a lot of them are good, in all honesty. Like, there's some that are amazing, but there's some that are really not that good.
There's not a lot of synergy with all the stuff. There's a little bit of synergy with certain cards here and there, but most of it's like, this thing does a thing. All right, and it's pretty generic, so at least all the decks can use it.
Yep. Anyway, we're moving on to a grade 1 for Tokenrumbu. This is a double rare. Takikogane Sadamune. Auto. When this unit is placed on rearguard, if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, Counter +1, choose up to 2 cards from your hand, call them to open rearguard, and if you call 2 cards, draw a card. So it's basically it's a +1 in all honesty.
This card is much better than it looks like.
No, yeah, because look at it this way. If you're going to call 3 cards to the board, at least you can call this, Counter +1, call still 3 cards to the board, but at least get 1 back to your hand.
Yes. But there's a better reason why this card's better. We'll talk about it later down the road, but there's a card that complements this card very well.
Is it the next one?
I don't think it's the next one. I think it's the later one.
Well, let's read the next one real quick. We got Okurikara. Auto rearguard. When this unit attacks while not boosted, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, chaos. Counter +1, and this unit gets 10k until the end of that battle. If your damage zone has no face-up cards, it gets 15 instead of 10. So it's a 25k beater. And the trial deck version, this is honestly good.
Oh yeah. Anything else is like, all right.
Like, it literally, you leave 1 CB open, you swing with this first, hey look, 25, and got no face-up CB, so my Vanguard now is good.
Yeah. Really good.
Anyway.
Hey!
Let's go away from Sword Boys and look at our first leaks of Booster Set 2.
All right. I knew we were going to get a bump to consistency and power in the set. I did not expect to see it in commons and rares. Like, these cards, honestly, are amazing for Variana.
Ooh, you read the cards and I'll give my 2 cents.
All right. So we got Blaze Maiden Tanya. Auto, when this unit is placed on rearguard, cost Counter +1. Choose a grade 0 card from your drop zone and call it to rearguard. So probably a Trickstar or a Trigger. Auto rearguard, when this unit attacks, cost Soul +1. Choose one of your grade 0 units and it gets power +5 until the end of turn. This is really good. I like it.
It's not bad. What about the other one?
Blaze Maiden Zara. Continuous rearguard during your turn. If you have a Blaze Maiden Ryu or a Blaze Maiden Reno on your Vanguard or rearguard, this unit gets power +5, making it an 11k. So 11k booster attacker.
All right. So what's your opinions of both cards and why they're good?
So these honestly fix an issue I think Variana had already, which was it never really had a good early game. Because most of the stuff you want to do is you want to be upgrading your Trick Stars into different Varianas there in the grade 2s and 3 games. So most of the time you're like, all right, well, I don't really have a grade 1 game or a great way to really push grade 2 because I'm just going to probably have one Trick Star and maybe an Arcus. I'm not going to really try to push out because I want to save my stuff for the grade 3 turns. So the Zara being an 11k booster already is good because it never had good boosters. So now you're having a 10 to 11k booster behind your Arcus or your Valiantes or whatever. So now you can push for better numbers. It's probably going to get rid of the what do you call it? The great 10k booster that people are running now because this is also early game. Right. Since you can have the ride line on your Vanguard or rear guard, meaning just riding up on grade 1 and 2s. This is 11k attacker or booster.
Right.
So you're already pushing good numbers there too. Then the grade 2 is even better in my opinion because you're probably never going to use the first ability much.
The one to get the zeros out of drop?
So late game, yes, because you're not going to want to discard cards with Nirvana skill. So you can use this to get your Trick Stars back.
All right.
That's the only time that's going to be useful. You're never going to use this early in. The auto when this unit attacks Soul Blast 1 to give a grade 0 +5 is good because when you're doing your ride lineup, you're going to get a Trick Star out, Trick Stars +5. So you can either be a 10k booster or a 10k attacker using the skill. And this is already 10 and 10, so it allows you to say, with one card, I'm going to make a full attacking Rose.
I can see that.
Because you're already hitting 10, 10, and 10 just by riding up from the ride line and calling this down.
I can see that. Now this is my side of the coin. I think I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate, but at the same time, I think they're honestly not that good. For the simple fact of how Variana, how Overdress is playing right now. Early game is nice and all. More than likely, if you get the Trick Star by your ride line, you're putting an Arcus on top of it.
Yes.
Not to mention, you're probably not going to have a Trick Star in drop just yet. So, Counter Blasting 1 to get something out is going to be hard. Soul Blasting 1 to give it 5k is going to be hard because you're probably not going to have it. And then the whole 11k booster thing, like, yeah, it's 11k booster, but only on your grade 1 and grade 2 turns. Because more than likely, you're not running those two in your normal deck, which means after the fact, it's only a 6k grade 1, which could be used for Ditch Fodder, but you only have 2 turns to utilize these cards to their fullest potential, and then for the rest of the game, they're deck cards. The grade 2 maybe is not a deck card, but unless you're putting it behind Nirvana and keeping it there, so you don't have to discard a card from your hand for Nirvana to get a Trick Star and you can CB otherwise, you're really not plussing, or you're basically doing the same thing as Nirvana's effect. Because look at it this way. If you place this down and Counter Blast 1 to get a Trick Star, it's basically saying, I just ditched a card and it's Counter Blasted 1 to get a Trick Star out. Because more than likely, this is not going to be in the front row because you're going to have your Overdress units there. And on top of that, do you really want to Counter Blast 1 in a deck that at first never Counter Blasted, but now is a very important resource?
Fair. I still think it's good for the simple fact that the grade 2's second ability, given the Trick Starter power.
The only reason I think the grade 2 is good is if you're playing against Jail. That is literally the only reason.
Well, hey, if you ever get sideboarding, it's really good.
Or UG. Okay, granted. Now that I actually list out the decks, the only reason the grade 2 is good is literally if you're playing the long game of, please don't kill my Overdress units just yet. I'm going to have a Trick Star, so you can't touch it. But if I already got a Trick Star, let's make it at least dangerous.
You're not wrong. Hey, it goes and make a 10k booster.
Like, this, the early game, I can see it. But again, once you're past your grade 1 and 2 turns, they're ditch fodders, if anything. True.
We'll see. Who knows? Maybe more cards will make it like you want to run more of the cards then.
Like these, they're common and rare for a reason.
Fair.
All right. Back to Swordboards again. We got Sancho Chomu. Sanchomu. There we go. Auto when this unit is placed on rearguard. If your persona rolled this turn, countercharge 1.
All right, back to my statement I said earlier.
So place a countercharge 1, place a counterblast 1, make a board.
That, or when this unit is placed on rearguard, so it doesn't have to say how.
Oh, place counterblast 1, place countercharge.
Yeah, and it's not hard once per turn or once per turn, so you can call multiple of these and countercharge multiple times.
I mean, it doesn't have to be placed by an effect. It can just be placed.
Exactly.
The only condition is persona riding, which honestly in some Tokugawa decks is decently hard.
Yes, but if you're running the... oh, never mind, you're right. I was going to say, you have a better chance with the trial deck one because you're drawing so many cards.
Yes.
And sometimes you want that countercharge to use some of the effects because you're going to be counterblasting out like crazy.
Correct. So honestly, it's a decent card, but
Yeah.
that's about it.
But that's only rare. I saw that one card where you call in 3 because I'm like, oh, cool, you can call the countercharger and you make it free calls and draw a card.
Pretty much. And then we got the last token Rambo of these leagues. Soha Yana Totsurugi. There we go. Auto rearguard. When this unit attack hits a Vanguard. Counterblast 1. Discard a card from your hand. Choose one of your opponent, your Vanguards. Search your deck for up to 1 card with the same card name as the revealed. And put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck. Or, sorry, reveal it, put it in your, shuffle your deck. Wherever. It's a Persona Ride Searcher. That has to hit.
And it's a counterblast 1, discard a card from your hand. But hey, of course it doesn't retire itself.
I mean, Counterblast 1 to replace the card in your hand with a Persona Ride.
Yeah.
That's what it basically is.
Hey, that combo we were talking about earlier is more consistent. Hell, if you get it to hit.
I'm really speculating that if we do get another ride line, we're going to see even if it doesn't hit, it still hits. Because nobody's letting this hit. Nobody's letting the Counterblast 1 heal a card hit.
Yeah.
There's so many effects, they're not letting them hit.
You know, I'm just waiting now because now that Monster Box has a toolbox for Persona Rides, this has a Persona Ride Searcher.
Everything's going to probably get a Persona
I know, I'm just waiting for
Searcher.
everything else that doesn't have one to finally get one because everybody's getting one now.
Anyway, let's cover the last 2 cards of this week, and then
Yep.
we'll go into the old.
So, more set 2 leaks. Diabolus Edge Grantil?
Yep.
Rearguard. Cost Soul Blast 1. To the end of turn, your opponent cannot intercept, and if you are in Final Rush, this unit gets power +5.
Not bad. What about the other one?
Diabolus Madonna Viola?
Viola.
Auto, rearguard. When this unit attacks, if your Vanguard is Diabolus Violence Bruce, cost counterblast 2, this unit gets power +10 to the end of turn.
I don't know how to feel about these cards,
I want to like the second one, but this is counterblast 2.
which is not bad. Honestly, that's decent.
It's decent,
We don't
yes.
counterblast that much immerse.
I know you don't, but I have like this irking feeling that there's going to be more counterblast now.
I mean, if there is more counterblast, she's not getting in. But if we stay where we're at, well, there's no point not rolling. Okay, so this is the opinion of both cards.
Yes.
The first one, the Act Soul Blast one, and not intercepting and getting 5k is honestly ultimately shit.
Yeah.
We already got a card that says your opponent can't intercept. Sure, this is until the end of turn, but for the most part, your opponent doesn't want to intercept. So, Soul Blasting went to gain 5k in a deck that wants to have a certain amount of cards in Soul to pay a bigger cost. It's not that good. Now, granted, I just noticed something. If you can really turbo, this thing is not a once per turn.
Yes.
So you can kind of go 5k, 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 5k if you really wanted to. But that's Soul, so it's like, if you can manage it, sure, but if you can, you're hurting yourself.
So, two things about this. One, I see a merit and not a merit to this card. The non-merit is the fact that you're not going to have the space for this, probably.
Yeah.
The merit to this, though, is this card's good in those turns you can't Persona Ride, and you're just swinging these 5k pokes early on the first swings. At least then you can Soul Blast one and say, okay, you're forced to use your hand now because you can't intercept these 5k pokes.
I mean, still, like, most people don't really want to, like, Bastion, is he going to intercept?
I mean, you're not wrong, but I'm just saying, like, that's the only merit I can see. The second one, like, it's 10k until the end of turn, so it's going to restand with this 10k for your counterblast.
Correct.
So that's the reason why I say it's still good, because
And we don't use much counterblast, but again, there's like, space is technically not an issue because the second you see multiple cards, you can always switch around and figure out what you want. But at the same time, I'm looking at this and going, all right, on my turn one, before I final rush, I already have a 20k beater for 2CB. That's nifty. But if I wait a turn, I can have better shit. But cannot wait a turn. Like, that's one of those things. Like, Bruce has the inherent problem. It's a turn 4 deck, which means your turn 1, 2, and 3 are not going to be very eventful, or you're not going to be doing much. You're basically playing a vanilla game, which means having cards like these two, or at least this one, kind of helps you in that sense out, because at least you're not doing nothing on your turn 3. Outside of that, it's like, it's decent. It might be ran. Yeah. I can see it being ran. I'm waiting for more.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for more.
Another thing I have about this card, though, is that you're running Diabolises, right?
Yep.
I mean, at that point, you have the guy from the Festival Collection that's Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1 to give it +10.
You're not wrong. Like, yeah.
I mean, I'd rather pay CB1 Soul Blast 1 than CB2.
Depending on the soul. Like, if you can manage your soul properly, sure. But if you can't manage your soul properly, the Soul Blast one even hurts.
Fair.
So it's one of those resource management games. All right. Lastly, because I lied. One more token Rambu that show Relame Nameless. And it has a very simple effect. It's a grade 2 13k base. Continuous Vanguard Rigard. If this unit has 13k or less power, it cannot attack. Simple, straightforward.
Seems very balanced.
I mean, it's a 13k base, which means if you win first and pop this down, your opponent's grade 2 game is like, well, shit.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it's a 13k attacker if you can, or more. Technically, it will never be a 13k attacker.
I mean, I will say this. It's going to be very sad if you have to ride this and you don't have any way to boost it.
If you have to ride this and have no way, not even to boost it, like boosting is not going to work.
Oh, yeah. You have to have some way to give it power.
Correct.
So if you don't have that, man, this is like the sad rides.
Not to mention, like, good sir, you're talking about riding it, which means it's in a ride line.
Oh, I'm talking like in premiums, like you ride this and it does nothing.
Shit, this can be in your ride line.
It could be, if you can find a way to make it work.
I'm going to have to look at Token Rumble altogether and try to figure out if there's any cards that just inherently give power. Ooh, the grade 1 2K. I feel like there's something there. Just put this in your ride line. Granted, you're sacrificing some, because all the Token Rumble ride lines need themselves.
Yes.
So it's interesting. I don't know. It's interesting build space. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
It's a common for a reason.
Yep.
But yeah, for the most part, that's been it for the leaks. If you're interested in buying any of the cards we just mentioned, go check out Triple Sleeve TCG.
They got great deals on singles, clan splits, and even cases. So go check out the website.
Link will be in the description. All right. With leaks out of the way, we actually finally got something to talk about in the news section. So, first things first. They revealed the poster for Booster Set 2, as we've been talking about Booster Set 2 leaks. And the poster, of course, has the new Variana on it. But it also revealed some key cards, or speculating, the main cards for all the trial decks.
Yep.
So here's the picture. And as you can see, we're seeing the archetypes for the start decks. From left to right, we see a probably Diabolus unit. It has a nice symbol and all that.
Those are Spike Brothers.
Correct. Then we got a Renegade one, which looks like the Seraphs and, the police units and all that. Moving on, the Cater Sanctuary one, arrows, knights and all that. Simple, straightforward. And then, of course, it's probably going to be a Sylvian something. Sylvian beast, whatever. Yeah, looks like a 5-tailed fox.
And it looks like a bunch of flowers and stuff. So, yeah, probably a Sylvian.
So, we don't know the grades of these cards. We don't know what they're going to do yet, but we know we're going to get them and we see the art. So, those are going to be the units to look out for whenever they start leaking.
It's more likely going to be some of the triple rares or double rares of the set.
These are probably going to be the main units, correct? So, that's going to be nice and fun to look forward to. So, yeah, just leave it down in the comments what you think of some of those cards are going to do. But we're going to move on in this news section and we're going to go straight into... yes, this is actually a very important part. June 2021 for English Standard Shop tournaments. These are going to be the promos for... Or is this for entering or winning? I'm not sure, though.
I think it's the random packs you get, the one-offs.
Correct. So regardless, these are the promos. And these are the 5 promos we saw at the beginning of Overwatch that we covered. So which means that the promo problem we had back in V era and even G era might be getting solved, which I am hyped for.
Yeah, because that was a big problem back in V.
Shout out to Eric and him making 2 videos about this topic. Anyway, moving on. I want to save that almost for last.
Okay.
I want to see if there's anything else here that we need to talk about. Yes, this. So, apparently, even though they're fixing a lot of problems, and I love Busher to death, they're not perfect. So, even they make mistakes. One of such is a production issue in Cardfight Vanguard Overdress Booster Pack 1 Genesis of 5 Great Sneak Peek Kits has been brought to our attention. An error with these specifications led to the omission of the overtrigger that were meant to be included in the kits for us for use in deck building during the draft tournaments. As the product is already in transit to your local stores, we are unable to rectify this issue before the product's release. Players may wish to bring their own overtriggers available in one of the 5 start decks releasing on the same day for the event, or to use the one from the printable demo deck that can be downloaded from the link. The link will be in the description. As for the overtriggers that was not included to be included with the product, it will be included in the Cardfight Vanguard Overdress Booster Pack 2 Sneak Preview Kits as an additional bonus instead. We apologize for the inconvenience caused and will endeavor to ensure the quality of your products moving forward. Quick translation, no overtriggers and sneak kits. They're coming in Booster Set 2 sneak kits.
Well, there is an upside to this.
Which is?
For those out there that wanted a format without overtriggers, well, you got one.
I mean, the letter does say, hey, you're not going to get the good overtriggers, so go use the trial deck overtriggers, or you can print these overtriggers.
Yeah, but if one of the shops, then you have a group of people that are like, yeah, we don't like overtriggers, you can just say, okay, no, we're opening packs the way they are and playing the decks, so there's no overtriggers.
Don't put fuel to the fire.
I'm just saying, so for those people that want it, it's there. You can finally have your dream.
Like, Bushiro is doing amazing work. And of course, they're still human. Like, they're not perfect.
Exactly.
So mistakes will be bound. And this is honestly not that big of a mistake. Like,
it's not.
You're not going to get your overtriggers in your sneak peeks. Wait a week and get them in the booster set.
Exactly. At least, now we're technically getting overtriggers inside of set 2 when we were supposed to.
Pretty much. All right. Last. Oh, yeah, that. Semi-last before last.
Oh.
Need to find it because you basically led into it and I almost completely forgot about it. So just need to find a little prompt. There we go. So Maury has confirmed to us, and thank you to one of our mods for supplying us with this info, the PGs and overtriggers won't be printed in every set. The next product letter will tell us what is a Japanese only or collab set, and the product letter coming in June, and yada yada yada. So the product stream on Wednesday the 12th will be kind of the information stream we need to figure out what is getting printed, what is not, if we're getting collaboration sets, if not, are we getting Monster Strike, period.
Exactly.
Token and so forth.
Please give us Monster Strike.
So, but to leave what you said earlier, basically, PGs and overtriggers are only for Booster Set 1. There probably are going to be some sort of Sentinels in Booster Set 2, I'm predicting, but overtriggers are not. So, Booster Set 1 is the set to get, because you need those overtriggers moving forward.
Yes. Those overtriggers and possibly your PGs, like the foil PGs are going to be pretty valuable at this point.
Yep. So, that's there. And then now the last bit of news, if I can kind of scroll back to it. It's not really news, but I find it very interesting.
It could be possibly news.
You're correct. We got lore, baby. So, I'm going to also put this link in the description. Go check it down below. There is the official Japanese side has all the lore for Overdress. From some units to a small novel called The Elderly, where it describes a little bit of the past of Dragon Empire. I haven't read it yet. It's all in Japanese, so figure out how you're going to read it. If anybody has a already translated English version, please link it down below. But for the most part, the interesting points in that little novel is the fact that they showed a picture of Dragonic Overlord, the Elderly. This is official. This is not a fan made. This is an official art.
Yep. It's basically Dragonic Overlord protecting the blaster blade.
Yep.
Which is interesting.
He's old. He's tired. He's still alive.
He's still alive.
After 3,000 years.
Not much, but he's there.
So that's interesting. And then also in the novel, they mention PBO and apparently his relatives or something.
His descendants.
Descendants, which is this picture right here. And then there's also another Shadow Paladin-esque unit I'm going to pop up.
And the reason we're talking about this is because I don't think they just put out art to put out art.
I think especially these two, like the Dragonic Overlord, the Elderly is a nice art. I don't think it's a card art. These two, on the other hand, they look like card arts.
And if this is supposed to be a descendant, means that it could possibly be a unit. Maybe the new 2 ride lines.
Correct. This could be the Keter Sanctuary new ride line. We don't know, but it's very interesting to speculate. Again, I have not read the novel yet. I have not read much of the lore, but I still find it very interesting. I might sit down one day and just give it a crack at it. Link will be in the description to the lore site and figure out how to navigate it from there.
Yes.
But for the most part, I think that's it. We're going to wrap this episode up here unless you got anything else you want to add.
I think that's about it.
There we go. Thank you everyone so much for watching episode 105. If you like the video, please leave a like, share with your friends, comment down below on what you think of the lore.
Do you want Phantom Blaster Dragon 2.0?
Pretty much. Or do you want Dragonic Overlord, the Elderly? But for the most part, if you like what we do here, subscribe to the channel and ring that bell to get notified. Maybe even follow us on Facebook, join our Discord, and watch us on Twitch. But with that, I've been Philip.
This is Alex.
And we'll see you in the next one.
Goodbye.
Woo! Dragonic Overlord, the Elderly.